Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Detour. I'm joined as always by four-time national road champion Johnny Trevorrow and Olympic gold medalist Scotty McGrory. Scotty, are you there, mate?
Yes, I'm here.
Yep. Your face was frozen. I thought, all right, we're off to a cracker with the Wi-Fi dramas, but you're back. I suppose let's kick things off with the Vuelta overnight. And, geez, I was rapt to hear Magnus Cort got a stage victory. He's an absolute ripper. One of the funniest guys I reckon I've met in the pro peloton. What was your takeaway from the stage, guys?
Yeah, look, I'm just particularly happy to see someone who has come back from the COVID, because he had it earlier in the year. So to come back and win, we've been sort of debating how it affects them. So it was really good to see. So, and I know we touched on it for a fraction, but also Ghana is a goner. He's got the COVID now, which is a real shame. But yeah, but a great stage. And the one that surprised me, Roglic, I mean, what can't that bloke do? He's sprinting with some pretty quick guys there, and he ran second. The young Dion Smith ran third. So, yeah, not much of a stage as far as they were hoping that the Cat ones and that might do something, but that didn't happen. But interesting finale.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So Rui Costa relegated. So he came across the line in second, I think he was second or third, but he got relegated for moving across. Yeah. So he impeded Roglic, which was okay, but then kept going. So and that so went across the road too far by the commissaire standards. Interesting, isn't it? Because it didn't stop Magnus Cort's run at all. He was able to come straight around the outside and still win the stage. So it didn't really affect him. It was only that Roglic was caught in between the two. So it wasn't really. You wouldn't penalise him for that. It was just that he kept going across the road a little bit further, and then relegated for that. So it was actually quite an interesting one because, he's gone too far across the road, but it didn't really matter. So UCI is really starting to crack down on these sorts of things.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. I agree because it's not. If someone had fallen, he'd probably end up getting a holiday, but no one did fall. So do you just forgive him for that because he moved too far? I think did Roglic just beat him anyway on the line? I think because it was quite. I can't remember how it was second or third, but yeah. No, I think he should have been relegated. Yep.
Yeah, and Roglic was disappointed because if he had gone earlier and then not being boxed in between him, and it's like anything in it. If he didn't, whatever, doesn't matter. But he might have had enough. He might have had enough to hold Magnus Cort off. In the end, doesn't matter anyway. But Dan, you're probably best placed now to tell us. We can talk about how the race panned out at the end. It was great for Magnus Cort. I was actually impressed by his maturity in the sprint because he won a race very early in the year back in February, hasn't won one since. This is his first real go, and yet he was patient and really showed some poise, which sometimes people don't do. They get a bit desperate. And even Valverde led out early, one of the most experienced riders, if not the most experienced rider in the peloton, and yet hit the front way too early against guys that are quicker than him, had no chance. Whereas Magnus
I was trying to see who was he leading out. That's what I thought he was doing. Who's he leading out? No one there.
Yeah, Movistar trying to set someone up for a sprint. It doesn't normally work very well. But yeah, look, you know the guy because he was at Orica team early on, or Mitchelton when it was previously named Orica.
Yeah, that's right. As I said, he's a really funny guy. We used to give him a fair bit of crap because he loved wearing denim. Like every chance he had, he would wear denim shorts, denim pants, and that's why I thought he'd go up on the podium in a pair of acid wash. And then we used to give him some stick about how at the time. Have I frozen again?
Oh, you did just.
You were.
Yeah.
You there?
You were. You're fleetingly frozen. Yeah.
Oh, guys, I can feel a real bad one coming on. I'm going to have to shut down any other apps that we've got in the background. It's always the way, isn't it? Yeah, but no, ripping guy. I've got some footage of Magnus's reaction after the finish.
Congrats, guys. Sorry, good job. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Great job. Hey, man. Oh, man.
As I said, chill dude. I think the internet's back working properly now. But yeah, he won, I think it was 3 stages at the end of the 2016 campaign. And at the time we were saying, look, if you win stages, mate, it will really increase your chances of getting a girlfriend. So him and Jens Kuklier had this running thing because he was single at the time. And then we put it out on social, if you want to go on a date with Maggie at the end of the Vuelta, just put in your details. And we didn't get one nibble. I remember before the start, I said, oh, Maggie, we didn't get one person. He goes, oh, I feel horrible. I don't know how I'm going to start the stage. So, but no, I think he's got a girlfriend now. So that all worked out for him. Here's his reaction from the Vuelta highlights.
Coming into a good form when we started back up again after the long break. But then I caught Corona myself and was out, and have only now been training for 3 weeks before coming to this race. And of course, it's very, very nice to be able to get a victory here.
Well, there you go. He only trained for 3 weeks leading into the Vuelta. He had COVID himself. And remember, there was a lot of chat about, what are going to be the adverse effects of COVID on riders. That obviously shows that you can bounce back and win stages. So good to see from Maggie. Obviously, today's stage, guys, is it's all chips in. This is going to be the last chance to unsettle Roglic. But what are you thinking? It doesn't really look like anyone's going to be able to topple the king, or...
I wouldn't think so, but it's a Grand Tour, 2 riders within a minute. The fact that he actually sprinted and took those few seconds yesterday shows that he's feeling $1 million. So I don't think there's any there's a bit of doubt. He's been up for so long, could he be getting a bit tired? But it doesn't seem to be that way at all. But there's 2 riders within a minute, and they'll throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at him. So I think we're up for a really special stage.
Have you got are you able to, without notice, you able to bring up the profile of the last climb?
No.
Well,
look.
No?
I see. The last time.
So the profile, the way it sits right is that, so Cat 1 there to start with, breakaway, probably go up the road. We'll see how things go. But it was interesting to see Ineos take control towards the end yesterday. Whether it was about safety and wet roads or not, I'm not really sure. But they will have to go hard early if they're going to try and do something to Roglic. They've got to try and actually unsettle him somehow. And on that final climb, there's a middle section. It's pretty easy at the start, but there's a mid-section that's really nasty, and then it backs off a bit in the last third. So I think it's all chips in for that middle section, because the gaps are too big. The gaps are too big to just think, we'll just try and win the stage, and that'll be enough to get the better of Roglic. Carapaz has got to make up 45 seconds. Carthy's got to make up 53. So they have to hit him early. They can't wait to the last few Ks. It has to be early on that climb.
Yeah, they've got to get him in difficulty, maybe even on the climb before. I mean, maybe a big attack has to go there. They've got to try and crack him back there, because if he cracks the way he rides, if they crack him on the final climb, they're only going to get 20 seconds if they're lucky. That's the way he rides. Yeah. But and his team's so strong, so I think they're going to have to try and crack him on the the Alto de la something. the Cat 2. I couldn't read it, so I was going sideways trying to read it on your little map there. But I think we're in for a cracking stage, actually. It's got to be. It's the penultimate stage, and it's all up. Last race for the year, big time.
It's been 3 good Grand Tours, haven't it? Three great amounts of racing.
Yeah, amazing. Hey, I saw a couple of the Ineos guys, 3 of them, I think, got fined and points deducted off them for not signing in on that really cold day. They've got that new sign-in process now where they've got to get their photo taken or whatever. Anyway, they were running late. They didn't do it. So they got fined, whatever. But and then they get points taken off their UCI standings. Because Froome's got absolutely no points, he's now, I think, the only rider in the peloton who's on minus UCI points at the moment.
So he owes them points.
He owes them points, yeah.
We've got a few comments that have come in. Tommy Hogan says, guys, loving the show. Haven't missed a day. Working from home in the UK, and it's a highlight of my day. My wife is Aussie and loves the show too. I think she has a crush on Iffy. Oh,
she's only human. She's only human.
Yeah. Sam said, Mitchell and Scott rode like friends. Best stage for them so far. A lot of praise for Rob Stannard from the box. We've got another comment from Tom Maloney. Says, hi guys, another exciting finish to a Grand Tour possible. Some Roglic trivia. First time he was presented with a green jersey, he gestured that mascot bear wasn't wearing a mask. Subsequent presentations, it wears a green face mask.
Tommy notices everything out, Tom.
Well, Tom.
Yeah, look, you know what? We have just brushed over that stage, and Rob Stannard was very good in the break, and in the end, it was just him and Cavagna that were clear, and then Cavagna right away towards the end, and only got him in the last couple of K. But that was a very good ride of Rob Stannard. At the end of a Grand Tour, anything you do like that is even more impressive.
True. And when we do our team rankings, Mitchelton, I think, is the 6th of our teams today. So we can go through a little bit of what we think, how they've gone through this season.
I've just realised why when I mentioned to you about Movistar just before we went on air, you said, "Oh, you hadn't really looked." Because I've got them as the 6th, because on my list of rankings they had Team Ineos as under T, and so you've got Team Ineos in today, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And I have it, and I have it. That's because on my list they were there tomorrow. But anyway, that's fine. I can do them off the top of my head because I've got. That's why I was talking about Movistar, because they were my 6th team. But anyway,
it shouldn't be alphabetical off the word team.
Like,
but
it's a UCI list, and the team somewhere, Team Ineos are all under T. It's just the way my list goes. Anyway, doesn't matter. Different. You would think you're right. Yeah,
that'll be interesting then, because well, actually, you know what? We can include Movistar in it.
It's pretty easy.
Pretty easy to do, and we'll explain why later. Yeah.
We might do 7 today, and okay, all right.
Yeah, they've had 2 wins for the season.
Anyway,
another comment. Tom says, George said in an interview Jumbo wanted to win the stage, but Roglic claimed he only decided at the finish to have a go. It's pretty good being that good, isn't it? Like, where you go on, I'm a climber, but yeah, I wouldn't mind having a crack at the sprint. We'll just see how we go. It's the old gut shot.
Amazing. Now, we should quickly talk about the it's a different name every time I look it up, but the Madrid Challenge by Vuelta now, the ladies' race, ended up being, even though it was lumpy, nothing really happened through there. It's just the 800 metres uphill, which wasn't that hard. And Lorena Webbs from Sunweb won it from Elisa Balsamo and Lisa Brenner, who won the event last year, third. And then just a few seconds back, the main group coming at 4 seconds with Sarah Roy and Anna Meek in there. So tonight they got a 9K time trial, and you'll see Anna Meek shoot right up the rankings, could even take the lead today. So it'll be a good one to watch.
Well, Johnny, because of the time...
And they went the wrong way. That was the other thing. The whole race went the wrong way at some stage, halfway through the stage. So
really,
it didn't go down real well, evidently.
How's that happen?
We couldn't watch it because they stuffed up the live feed, so there was no live feed. They got let down by the supplier or something, so that didn't happen. So a few things going wrong with the women's Vuelta, but not the racing. The women are really, as they have been over the last couple of years, but especially this year, been putting on a great show.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? They've had a cracking couple of seasons. But because of the time bonuses for the finish, it now has Anna Meek sitting 19 seconds down, and it's only 9.5 Ks, the time trial. So she could probably, or more than likely, will make that time up. But then the last stage is also a sprint. So this could be a really good battle. Battle between a sprinter and a pure time trialist to see who can, come out with the overall win in the end. It's be good.
Yeah.
Our special guest on the show today is going to be Micheal Rogers. You both know Dodge really well, and he's just accepted a new role with the UCI as the innovation manager. So we were talking a couple of days ago about particularly esports in cycling. So I think he's going to have a fair bit to say about that.
Looking forward to that.
It's going to be interesting. Yep. So
Yeah.
before we get Dodge on, do you want to knock over the Mitchelton plug first, Johnny?
Well, I can
Because
if you like. Yeah. But
we might as well.
when are we going to slip in stage 17 and Donnie Allen winning the Vuelta in 1975, the first ever Grand Tour victory by an Australian? Pretty impressive.
Well, obviously you're keen to slip it in now.
I don't care.
I
I don't care. Well, but we might be a bit late later on. We are talking about stage 17. So
that's more of a shove than a slip. But yeah, I think you've just shoved it in.
Yeah.
But it is mostly, and I used to use this as a bit of a quiz. You go to a cycling club event or something and say, okay, right, everybody, we might have bottles of wine or something, whatever. It's a kids thing. We wouldn't do that. We'd give out water bottles, but it would be okay. Name the first Australian to ever win a stage of a Grand Tour. And they'll say Cadell, so no, before that. And they might say, Robbie, no. Stewie, no. Phil Anderson, no. And very, very few come up with the name Don Allen, which is such a shame because he is the man.
That's the image
1975.
there.
Yeah.
That's the photo on a cinder track. And Basso is second, who was a world champion only a couple of years before. It's 1972, he was world champion. This is 1975. And amazing. Look, a great bike rider. So Donnie and I were Olympic teammates. We went to the Olympics in 72. And then in 73, we had this great year, I think we've spoken about, where we all went over to Europe. Courtesy of Ron Webb, who none of us knew at the time, but become a good mate, who set it up, expat Aussie based in London, and we raced the whole season, Peace Race, all the big races. Fantastic. And so Donnie won stage in the Peace Race on a cinder track, very similar to that. And he beat the two biggest names in the bike race. There was Sikorsky, who was the world champion, and the Russian, I can't even think of his name now, but the Russian big road sprinter, and he put them away. It was a fantastic victory. But he had a great year. He won a stage through Scotland. He won the prologue of the Tour de France. They had an amateur race, and he won that in front of. I think that's what really got him noticed by Frizzell, because they signed him up after that. A fantastic year. So the story goes, and when they looked at that track and looked at the cinder finish, they said, "Oh, you're the cinder track expert." I think Donnie said he'd never ever seen one until that Peace Race. So we're going to take you, and now we're down to only 5 riders left in the team, and so they set him up. They did a big lead out for him coming onto the track, and he delivered. He said, I was that nervous because they had all their faith in me, and he was only there as a worker, and he won the stage. And then as it went, the next day, his teammate, what's his name, Henny Kuiper, won the stage again. So they won two in 2 days. But that was a fantastic victory. He also went on. We all know, or most people would know, he had a great 6-day career, winning, I think, 16 or 17 sixes, mostly with Danny Clark. They were sort of the Aussie duo back then. But he also finished top 10, finished 9th at the World Road title in Ostuni. And look, he's a superstar. Finished second to me in the Sun Tour, but that's me being a smart aleck, because he was, a classy biker, very professional, unlike me. If you want to look up to the riders back in my era, he was the guy who was worth following. He was a special guy. Yeah.
Johnny, being a former rider, you reckon Donnie would get a discount on bikes and frames and stuff? Being a former pro.
Here we go.
Yes,
here we go.
He would. Different to Scotty, because he didn't win a gold medal like Scotty, but he wouldn't tell us about it.
Wait, I haven't either. You just did. I was going to say, Don is one of the most humble of champions of all time, and there's a classic story about when Eddie Merckx was coming out for the World Championships that were in Geelong. I think it was around that time, 2010 in Geelong, and it was Steve Bracks, I think, if he was said to him, is there anyone in Australia you'd like to catch up with? He said, there's only one person that I'd like to see, and that was Don Allen. That's how much respect Eddie Merckx had for Don. He's one of the few people that could actually hurt the legs. As Don had said to me, he's one of the few people that were able to hurt Eddie's legs, but normally that was on the track, on the velodrome in the 6 days, but he had an enormous amount of respect. And Don's a hard guy. I interviewed Don a couple of years ago for a TV show I was on, and it's one of the few interviews that are out there because he just doesn't do them. He doesn't care about any of that, doesn't want to do it. and it's really hard to actually track Don down and sit him down.
I tried to get him on. Tonight.
Yeah.
And we're good mates. We're closer mates now than when we raced. But, I couldn't twist his arm. He said, "Nah, mate, no way." So,
Well, I saw an interview with Eddie about Don, and his reply is Don is good.
Is Don is good.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Not my sharpest, but I thought I'd throw it out there.
Now,
all right, you ready?
Do you think
No,
everyone knows is Michael there? Is he? Or I was going to just say, do you know what a cinder track is, Dan?
No, I know what a cinder block is, like off The Simpsons when he goes, "Sorry, they stole 2 cinder blocks from the work site." And he goes, "Okay, I'll tell the children there'll be no hospital."
No, so it was a running track. So before they had synthetic running tracks, so just to explain Don's victories, before they had synthetic running tracks, they used to it was like burnt cinders. They would actually burn whatever woods and layer that down as a running track because it had a little bit more spring than just normal grass. So effectively, the Peace Race win and then that stage win at the Vuelta for Don Allen were on running tracks, which might sound interesting, but I've finished a stage of a race in Poland on a running track, on a synthetic one, and it's sketchy as because you think the running bend on a bike flat out into it, it's really sketchy to get round. So it was actually pretty skillful of those guys just to get round on those things without crashing, let alone sprinting and trying to win it.
I've actually finished on both, Scotty, on a synthetic and a cinder track. A cinder track is different. It's more like it's a dirt track, really, and so you get that sliding, whereas you don't with the cinder track. It's sort of the bend really stops you.
Yeah.
But with the cinder track, you're actually sliding around, and once you get a little bit of experience at them, they're fantastic. I love them. We raced a lot of dirt tracks when I was young. But,
I was going to say, you would have done that, yeah. I never raced on a dirt track, but a lot of the old, flat tracks around the footy ovals in Australia were dirt, weren't they?
And grass tracks. We used to race on have grass track finishes too, which they were very interesting. When you went down, the old green rash you'd end up with. But anyway,
well, and you would have snapped. Because it was wooden rims too, wasn't it? You would have broken a few wooden rims back in the day.
Righto.
That spare tire that you used to wear around, like
and the fag at the side. Stop for a beer in the pub. All of that.
Hey, that reminds me. Talking about movies the other day. The one that I just remembered, talking about old dirt tracks and things, there was a movie filmed in Australia about Major Taylor. So the African-American cyclist that was a champion in the US and came out to Australia and rode a season or two.
Yeah.
And
early
just
1900s.
Absolutely just dominated and smashed everybody. And they filmed that in Adelaide and they used a lot of the South Australian Institute of Sport riders. And Mike Turner was actually in that movie.
But he have a suntan? Oh, that was he didn't play the part. It
wasn't him, no. Sorry. And the major Australian that was his competitor, Major Taylor's competitor, was Andrew Daddo. If anyone can remember Andrew Daddo from back in the day, the Daddo brothers.
Oh yeah.
Well, just to whack. I'll do the ad in 1 second, but just to add a little bit to that. My grandfather on my mum's side, who I've somewhere here got a little thing. He was. First aid with St. John's. Anyway, he looked at Major Taylor fell at the MCG, in a race at the MCG, probably Austral, I guess, and he had to patch him up. So my grandfather patched up Major Taylor. So there you go.
There you go, John. That's a good yarn, mate. All right, Mitchelton, because Mick's waiting in the lobby, mate. So let's fly through Mitchelton, do the bike exchange, and then we're going to talk to Michael Rogers.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
There you go. Mitchelton, one of Australia's favourite wineries and a place of escape. Experience the history, the beauty and the serenity of the Goulburn Valley at your own pace. Looking over the vineyards from the iconic tower, staying at the new hotel, relaxing by the pool, recharging by the day spa, exploring the seasonal menu at the Muse, stopping by the Providor, touring their cellars, and of course, tasting their signature wines. It's become hugely popular as a venue for weddings and major functions. There's a happy couple and another happy couple. Of course, you have to go downstairs in the Aboriginal Art Gallery, which is world class. And of course, there's so many wonderful paintings in there. But there it is, the $10,000 Land Cruiser with the 1.55 $1,550,000 paid job.
It's gone up $100,000. Wow. Good stuff, mate. All right. Quick word from our great mates at Bike Exchange. And at the end of that, we're going to be chatting with Micheal Rogers.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Now, before we bring Dodge on, one thing that we could probably polish up is our intros. You know, we need to sort of run through a few of the stats and really introduce our guests a little bit better. So I thought, with no notice, Johnny, pump up our next guest and give us a bit of background for the listeners.
Well, Mick Rogers, I mean, the Rogers family are pretty special. They come from Canberra. Thanks for all the preparation on that. You're a star. And I've known a lot of the family, beautiful people. Old man's a real character. Was a real character. One of the funniest guys I've ever seen in the bike game. But Mick, 3 times world time trial champion. That's something special. I remember a Tour de France when he was about to take the yellow jersey, and he had a terrible crash that fixed that up from him. But yeah, just one of the great bike riders. But and we're going to have to tell a story. There's a wonderful story. He won the Tour Down Under when he was just a youngster, and there's something that happened in that race. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Which is a great story. But yeah,
Without
one of the superstars of
Here he is.
Hey guys.
Micheal Rogers.
Hey Dan.
How are you, mate?
Hey Scotty. I'm doing
Mick,
well.
how are you, mate?
Yeah, doing really well. Thanks. Nice to see you guys. You look great.
Yeah.
Well, mate, you look very sharp. That's a very nice press business shirt. The probably best dressed guest we've had since Alan Davis was on here with his UCI business shirt. And you're joining the ranks with the UCI now too, mate. Tell us about your new role.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, really excited to announce just a few days ago that I'll be joining the UCI under Innovation Manager, which consists of esports, quite a lot within the equipment and clothing division. And also what hasn't really been talked about yet is also e-mountain bike and putting down some regulation all around e-mountain bike. So really exciting role and starting in a few weeks. So really excited.
Well, we were talking about this.
E-bike. Sorry, Dan. It looks like you got an e-mountain bike in the background there, mate.
Yeah, that's my better half's e-bike. I'm actually thinking about buying I haven't got an e-bike.
I might be able to do a deal for you. Just hook me up. Talk to me.
I heard you've got great deals.
No. We'll go to Bike Exchange, mate. Forget Scott.
Yeah.
Just go to Bike Exchange. I'll look up. You'll get the best deal you could possibly get.
Okay, I'll do that.
Focus on the sponsors.
No, but I was watching the other day, and Scott had some access to some great deals. So Scott, I'll
yeah, no problem. We'll still plug Bike Exchange, but I'll sort you out, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah. Hey, Dodge, has there been just since? So the first time I've ever heard of like a Zwift or whatever was when Matty Hayman won Paris-Roubaix, and he said to everyone, "I was just on the rollers," and everyone's like, "What? How do you train when you got a broken arm?" He said, "Nah, this program Zwift." And then it's really the last 4 years, I mean, and particularly with COVID, it's just exploded. I mean, how big has the growth been in such a short period of time?
Absolutely right, Dan. I mean, that's a great story about Matthew Hayman training for, what was he broke his collarbone, used Zwift.
His elbow.
Yeah, that was a very unknown. It was a very unknown platform, and Scott, I'm sure you can remember the days training on the home trainer, staring up against a white wall. I mean, it was just listening to Metallica or Rage Against the Machine or something, and trying to get yourself motivated to get into those efforts. But then platforms like Swift come along, and also kind of gamified indoor training, which makes it a little bit more exciting. You have some interaction with other people, obviously by the internet, and then the whole training platform, elements come onto it. So, and other platforms as well. You have some of your other platforms. There's a new one coming out of United Emirates country called Whoosh. So it's a very competitive space, but I mean, it's just opened the doors to a whole lot of new people to cycling. So I think it's a really, really positive thing, and I'm really excited to see the UCI as starting to really think about it and see the potential of these sports within cycling.
I have said to the guys that I think it will be in the Olympics eventually. It's just making sure that it's all legitimate and everything's on an equal playing field, etc. But it's the way it's going, and there'll be a lot of people against that. I understand as well. The traditionalists, don't think esports are where things should go. But esports, not as in Zwift, but typical gaming was in the Asian Games a couple of years ago. At least this is a fitness app, and what is so addictive about it is that it has that gaming background. The guys that started Zwift actually come from the gaming world, and that's some of the elements that they have put into it. Do you feel that there's still this sort of, I guess some parts of the UCI or some elements of people within the UCI holding back and not, wanting to embrace, esports or things like Zwift?
Well, I think within the UCI, they see the full potential of it. I mean, cycling has such a huge advantage over other sports in the Olympic level of being able to hold events within a virtual space. For example, you can't go for a swim virtually. You can go for a run virtually, you can row virtually. But cycling has been tinkering around with technology, home trainers. We've been into all these measurements and metrics that we have, watts. We've been playing around those within professional cycling and amateur cycling for years, for decades. And to be able to make that conversion and bring that technology all together and all those metrics into one environment and share it over the internet, I mean, it just opens up so many boundaries. I mean, we can hold cycling events in Africa. We can hold cycling events in places where setting up a physical race would be really, really difficult.
Fair enough, yeah.
Johnny, are you going to take the Bay Crits virtual, in 2-3 years' time?
No, mate. I'm not. I'm one of those old cracky old buggers. And there's a great place for it. But I find it as a wonderful addition to our sport, to help our sport, especially in these COVID times. It's been amazing. But I think it can work in together with the sport. I don't think it should ever try and take over from any of our events. It would be ridiculous. We still want to get out and ride a bike.
And that's a really great point, John. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on where do you believe the boundaries are on esports compared to traditional outdoor cycling, which of course we all enjoy. But I personally, I don't see it as a substitute. I think the Tour de France will always be the Tour de France. There'll always be the Paris-Roubaix, the men and women. There'll always be Tour of Flanders and all the monuments that we're used to. But I think if we take a step back and we think about the grassroots, I mean, you guys can tell me how difficult it is to have a local club race in Australia right now, for having the police, for ensuring that everyone has the right insurance and protection cover. I think the way that I see it, over the next 10 to 15 years, I think a lot of that racing will move online. And open up so many windows of opportunity for people that don't have the possibility to be able to jump on a plane and fly over to Europe and take part in the traditional cycling that we know today.
Yeah, I think it's got a wonderful place in the development of cycling, especially we're talking over the last couple of days about things like the Australian Schoolboys Championships and all that, which used to be huge, and now they're having trouble with all of that. I think the Swift type of system could be perfect for a great national championship, identifying the youngsters. It's sensational. And all the things they're doing, I think, are great. But I would hate to see it even try and take the place of club racing. It's got to be get them into the sport and work with them in the both. There's got to be a way of the two running together, I believe.
Yeah,
absolutely, John. Yeah.
Off esports. Oh no, sorry, Dan. You go. Keep going.
I was just going to say, is the concern that it's going to be sort of like the poor man's substitute for real racing? Like you don't have the crowds, you don't have the atmosphere, you don't have the corners and all the stuff you see live, or will it eventually build to this grand spectator sport? Because you look at some of the esport events, they packed out the birdcage in China for esports games. That has the potential to grow, I suppose.
I think it's a progression, Dan. Road cycling, wasn't or isn't today what it was 80 years ago. I mean, and of course, in the technological space, we're going to move a lot faster. Right now, I think e-cycling, it's still in its very much infancy. I believe that there's the strongest rider will still win every day. If you look at a guy like Rowan Dennis, who at the top of the sport was very competitive and won all the kind of hard races within the Tour de France, Tour of Hope. It's one kind of rider. The strongest rider will win every day because it's literally based on power to weight ratio. The person with the highest watts per kilo will win every day. But over time, I believe the platforms will develop and it'll be more of the strategy elements will come into it as well. So if you look at traditional cycling, there's two factors that determine if you can win a race or not. And obviously, Scott, better than I do, it's legs, it's lungs, it's about your physiological side. There's a huge strategy element, making sure you're able to ride in the crosswind, making sure you're able to take the corners and the descents and all those technical elements of handling your bike. And if we can, over the next 5-10 years, start to layer in some of those elements and strategy into also the kind of the game, I think it opens it up and makes the sport a lot more engaging for fans as well.
I think that's a really good point there, Mick, is that we're looking at it now and thinking, should it be in the Olympics or should it not? But in 5 years' time, even seriously, probably in 2 or 3 years' time, the developments that will happen within the game to make it more technical will be extreme. We'll be talking about something completely different by the time it does perhaps turn up on the Olympic platform. So,
and Mick, do you think that people need to look at it as two different products? Like it's like ping pong, table tennis, and tennis. People like Iffy will be there going, hang on, it's not bloody, get him out of the road. But essentially, it's going to be a completely different product. And if you master the art of virtual racing, I mean, you could be a virtual racer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Particularly if you start getting some good virtual bank. I mean, who cares?
Exactly, and it goes back to that conversation before we're having. Is there could be a bunch more of fantastic and biggest talents in the world. We just don't know about them yet because they haven't had that access to cycling. The structure of cycling, which is predominantly a European sport, where all the races. So there could be, a bunch of Pogacars out there or Van Lutens out there sitting in the middle of Africa or South America or anywhere spread across the globe that we don't know about yet. And I think this is where the UCI is so interested in this space because their vision is to get people on bikes. That's their role. Yep. And if we can get them on virtual bikes, if we can get them on real bikes, that's a win for cycling.
I think Johnny would be happy with maybe like if say you think about Milan San Remo, I think it was 2012 where they had where it snowed and they had to get transport.
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So when there's conditions like that, in certain races, and if you're going to have say a virtual Milan San Remo, then all of the competitors have to say be an industrial freezer or something for the whole length of the ride, just to try and replicate the real life scenario.
Okay. Let's imagine this then. So the virtual side of the sport builds up and they never race, but they become superstars of the virtual. And then finally we'll put the two together, a bit like a virtual boxer and a real boxer.
Yeah.
You put them together, I'll back Mike Tyson every time. So there you go.
This is like Rocky 6, was it? You know, when he sees that virtual fight? And it all...
Well, look, I mean, John's already ahead of his game. He's already showed us how smart he is. But in all honesty, we are not, the technology is there to be able to hold a virtual race and a physical race in the same time. So all riders at the top of the sport at the Tour de France and all the big races, they have a box on the back of their bike, the Velon box, which is that's recording all their information, has their GPS position. I mean, that's information that all could be potentially beamed, via the internet through the, into one of these, one of the platforms. It could be Swift, it could be another one. Okay, and the software producers replicate that exact course, and all of a sudden you're at home taking part in the last 20 kilometers of the Tour de France.
Now you're talking.
You've got Johnny excited.
But that's exciting.
Right,
it's not going away. That's combining the two. That's what I'm talking about. That's where it works. I love it.
This is where we have to start to think a little bit outside of the box and start to interact with younger generations, because all of a sudden, cycling complains that we don't have tickets, we don't have a stadium, we don't have ticket entry. We don't have fans being able to come to our races and pay an entry fee to sit on a plastic chair and be able to watch the cyclists. All of a sudden, virtual cycling has the potential to be able to create some kind of business revenue for the teams and the race organizers and the platforms and the sponsors. It creates a ecosystem, okay, that cycling hasn't been able to develop in traditional road cycling, that can be divided and amongst all the stakeholders and enable cycling to finally become self-sufficient and not so dependent on corporate sponsorship.
That's huge.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, mate. That's why they're paying you the big bucks. That's fantastic. Yeah, we're on the ball,
mate.
We'll develop it together.
Mick, if you ever want to roll on the Bakerits, mate, the door is always open. Always.
Mick, got to say, it's great that you're involved with the UCI and what you're just talking about there. I could just see tens of thousands of people around the world, tuning in on their home trainers.
Well,
the
comments are filling as well.
Of every stage. So it's great that you've done that, because if we go back to 2009, I think it was the Giro. Dan and I were there. It could have been the Tour. I think it was the Giro. And the question we put to you, or Dan put to you, was if you weren't a professional cyclist, what would you be? And your answer was a garbo. You thought garbage was getting you, and you get up early in the morning. Do you remember that? You told us.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't do that.
Well, I'm into investments. I'm quite, and everyone needs a house to live in. Everyone needs clothes, and everyone needs to eat. But garbage is a great one because everyone still produces garbage. I mean, garbage is going to be around forever. I don't know about bikes, but garbage is going to be around forever. So
some of us produce a bit more than the others, but anyway,
what kind of garbage? Verbal garbage, or
there's a bit of that going on.
I'll go through. What I'll do is I'll go through some of the tech questions first, and then we're going to step back and talk about some highlights of your career, mate. But we'll kick off with a great mate of ours, Wombat Breath. He says, Michael, when do you think we can see the first UCI classified virtual race?
The World Championships. World Championships are in roughly about a month. Will be held on Swift.
There you go.
It's what we call. They'll be held from. The riders won't be in a physical location, so they'll be all coming in remotely. And absolutely, so that's it'd be quite a broad landmark, I think, or it's an exciting event. I mean, as I said, it'll be held remotely, so people coming in from their homes and offices. So we've still got a lot to learn. It's still early. We've still got within esports, there are still some issues to solve. But as I said, the sport is still in its infancy, and we need time to improve.
We've got another comment, and this is something that we flagged the other night, and it's from Jamie Anderson. He says, for many people in developing markets, a smart trainer is still very expensive. How do you see access evolving to identify talents in places like Asia and Africa?
So I speak to a lot of people that say to get involved with esports is still quite expensive. I've just dished out a lot of money to buy a good bike, my clothing, and if I have to dish out another, another 1,500 Aussie dollars to buy a trainer, then that's just another load that I'm not willing to take. For me, it becomes kind of access to equipment. Will there be financing opportunities out there for companies and for privates to be able to go and rent a home trainer? Because that's maybe something that we at the UCI need to think about, is how can we get home trainers out to as many people as possible? So I think we have to think about it a little bit differently compared to the traditional cycling kind of buy your bike and fly over to Europe and buy all your hotel rooms. And like Scott, you could tell a million stories about that. John, you might have been a little bit before that time of hotels. I don't know,
just a tad, just a tad.
So, it simply comes back to getting access to this equipment and access to an internet line.
There could be some government funding programs as well. Schools could apply for government funding, because you talk about obesity and all these things. This is one of those tools that would certainly be well looked upon in terms of health and well-being. Maybe that's something that pops up down the track as well.
Absolutely, Scott. And
a bit like NTT with Quebecer. Yeah. Sorry, mate. I was just saying,
the brilliant thing is, I liked your comment, what you said before about, schoolboys championships. A computer game is speaking the younger generation's language. They get it. They get it. John, you might not get it. But the young kids, these kids are playing Fortnite, 23 hours of the day. And if we can bring cycling into schools with a language that they understand, then we're halfway there to making it.
You might have to, if you want to get that audience, you might have to have like machine guns on the front of your bikes, or some sort of virtual shooting element of it, or Mario Kart. You can throw some.
But there is a bit of that. There is that in there. Because you get power-ups and
exactly.
Featherweights, and there's all these things that help you through it. So it has those elements. Okay, you haven't got the blood and gore of Grand Theft Auto, but maybe that's a side game that they may end up playing. But yeah, there is the gaming parts of it. Remember, I spoke about the other night about that first British Championship where the guy was disqualified because he'd illegally acquired a Tron bike to go faster in the race, but that's all part of that gaming element that it becomes addictive, and that's why it has become so popular.
Absolutely.
Well, people are getting excited on your comments, Mick. That scenario is like taking a screamer centre forward in the grand final at EMCG and kicking the winning goal, all possible virtually. That's from Tom Maloney. That will be a game changer, and the marketing messages you could put out from that, involving yourself in the race live, and if they can match up what's happening in the actual race with riding as well. That'd be a game changer. Another question from Wendy Superfan. She says, Mick and Scott, do you think this is something local clubs can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me, not a problem. I know certain clubs, especially during lockdown, And the Brunswick Cycling Club in Melbourne have been very progressive, as they always are. They've got a great kids program on the velodrome. And every year they just have so many kids coming through, and a lot of good riders came through the Brunswick Cycling Club and then into the professional ranks. And they were doing lots of virtual riding, and also even just some video updates, so Zoom meetings and stuff through the club members, just to keep everybody sane and happy and fit and riding through the COVID times when they were in lockdown. So that's one club in particular that I know that's been progressive in that way.
But I mean, and this is another question that I have for the three of you. I think cycling during the lockdown, I mean, I know in Australia, you're kind of coming out, particularly in Melbourne, you're coming out of a lockdown. I'm here in Switzerland. We went through our lockdown in March through the spring here in Europe. But I think cycling was so courageous, and so courageous to be able to battle through this kind of period we've been in. The UCI held the World Championships. I mean, what I found really interesting was President of the International Olympic Committee, Mr. Bach, made a special trip to the World Championships. I mean, when has that ever happened in the sport of cycling? And I think the UCI was so courageous to make that move to put the World Championships on in this COVID period. I mean, and I think we need to give also, the UCI a little bit of a pat on the back about that. And, some people were
very much so. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, some
We're
people
always
were
doing
critical.
But not just that.
But
to do it in such, like, it was only they had 3 to 4 weeks to put it on. We got cancelled in Switzerland, and they completely moved it to Italy and did an amazing job. And it was a fantastic world title. So you're dead right, Dodge. They really do deserve a big, because we are a little bit critical of them at times, but they've stepped up this year. It's been an amazing year this year to survive. To get all the Grand Tours happen, most of the classics, all in that short time. And it's been brilliant racing as well. So,
it has,
hats off to everyone.
Mick, is it going to be a bit of a race, like, to get the structure down pat if, once the virtual racing calendar starts to build? Because you look at the traditional battles, you've got the UCI and ASO, and it's a battle about control, money, exposure. They've obviously got the Tour de France. Is there a part of a worry that, say, the ASO might go, well, hang on, there's a bit of money to be made out of this. We might create a Tour de France virtual series, and then we're going to, control a big part of the virtual calendar. I mean, does it need to be clear terms early on to say, hey, this is going to grow, let's all work in together? Because your model, I mean, the teams will be a lot more happier with a UCI model than someone that goes, if we do make money, it's going to go into our pockets, rather than distribution fairly with the teams.
Yeah, I mean, there is an opportunity to put that business model in. To be honest, I'd be only guessing about how it could potentially go. I mean, and that's the path we all have to walk down. My hope is that we can walk down that path, and all the stakeholders of cycling kind of holding hands, right? That would be the ideal scenario. I would hate to walk down that path throwing stones at each other and, trying to tackle each other. So there's an opportunity on the road, but I think there's a lot of ground to be uncovered, and we're going to be learning a lot along the way. We're going to make mistakes, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And the other very big, powerful player in this, guys, is the IOC, because if virtual cycling does go into the Olympics, then they'll obviously want to have their element of control over that as well. So, I imagine working closely with them, probably be in the UCI's favour to work closely with the IOC to build that platform, and then you come back to the race organisers to say, this is how we're going to include you into it, rather than be dictated to by ASO.
Very interesting point, Scott, because actually President David Lepatian, he actually heads the IOC esports board. So that's another nice thing for cycling. We have a nice advantage of that. We have a nice advantage, and I think we should work hard at it. Yeah.
Question for you, Mick. Are you also looking at innovation in equipment and working with bike manufacturers?
Absolutely.
Scott Davies.
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. Thank you. The bike manufacturers are a massive piece of the pie within cycling. Not only in professional cycling, not only in amatorial level cycling, but they get people on bikes, and we need to get those people to the table and ask those questions. How do you guys see the future of cycling? Is there something that cycling we can do to make your life easier? So I'm really looking forward to some of those conversations. Likewise, clothing. I mean, there's some fantastic stuff that we can do. Some clothing. The sock rule. Scott, you're a huge. I can remember when you were riding. You were a huge advocate of high socks. What do you think of the sock rule?
Well, I thought that before Lance Armstrong got banned for doping, he should have been banned for bringing in black socks. That should have been his.
I used to hate on that. I remember
that was his first offence. But
the Giro.
I've been doing lots more mountain biking and stuff and gravel riding. Obviously, there are times when you should be wearing black socks because it's dirty and wet or whatever. The sock rule. Look, I understand. It's kind of not really a sock rule, is it? It's about socks have developed, or clothing has developed to be more aerodynamic and faster than skin. So riders want to have these not actual socks, but long items of clothing that look like socks that basically just are faster than skin. The more they can have of that and less of skin, the faster they go. And we don't want to have everyone riding these one-piece suits. Okay, it's not the sort of sport for that anyway, because you're going to sweat too much and you get dehydrated. There's all these other issues with it. So I understand why the UCI have brought in the measurement of those socks so they're not too high, which then looks silly when they're just going around measuring people's sock height when there's other bigger pictures, things that are happening that they're not looking after as well, perhaps safety or whatever. So they get a lot of criticism for doing things like that. I guess it's just explaining it better so everybody understands why they need to implement certain rules rather than just doing it and everybody finding out at the start of the season, we've got this new rule now, but maybe just communicate a little bit better. Make sure the commentators that are talking on the sport are included. And this is an element that often gets forgotten. You've got most of the races are now broadcast, yet the commentators themselves aren't getting direct information from perhaps the UCI or the governing body as to how to explain certain things, different procedures, why they came about with these decisions, just to include them, because we are there for the sport to grow. Commentators don't want to have to criticise anyone within the sport. They want everybody to love it and want everybody to be engaged in it. So I think there are certain key stakeholders within the sport that don't get engaged to then help UCI implement the rules and have everybody understand them to the best of their ability.
There you go.
Scott.
Yeah.
My mother must have been years ahead of her time, because I'm a short sock man. I reckon 50 mil is the max. But I like. But Mum was always telling me, John, it's time you pulled your socks up. So she was years ahead of me.
Well,
Nick,
I don't know if you know this story, but Johnny, obviously this is from Johnny's era. But so if you're racing in Australia, right, and you had the amateurs and the professionals, and if you went to the track back in the day, you went to Olympic Park and the old Essendon board track, etc., the amateurs were only allowed to wear white socks, and they must have worn white socks. They had to wear socks, and the professionals didn't actually wear socks. So if an amateur turned up to the track and went out onto the track and went riding around without socks on, the professionals would go and tell him to get off the track and go and find some socks to wear. True story, John.
What a sport.
I didn't know about that part, the last part, but yes, the pros on the track didn't used to wear socks. That used to be the side of the pro. Although Pato always wore socks, so there you go.
Wouldn't that lead to like foot chafe, or wouldn't you get blisters in that?
All I can think of is smelly shoes, mate. You think of all those guys, all those Aussie summers without socks.
I think we're wasting too much time on the socks. We're going to...
Hang on. I've got a comment from our mate Matty Rendell. He says, a fear I have about home cycling is that with big TV screens, fans, etc., an environmentally friendly sport becomes a big draw on electricity. We need to capture the watts being produced to power the home trainer and much more. Mick could have powered a small town in his day. It's a good point, Dodge.
Matt, if you can come up with a home trainer that produces electricity, you're going to be a millionaire, I tell you.
Well, there you go.
Do that.
We've got another comment from Jamie Anderson. He says, what are your views on embracing people with disabilities? The Paralympic movement has grown immensely, and maybe virtual cycling is opening up a whole new era.
Yeah, that's a great one. Jamie, to be honest, I haven't given a lot of thought about that, but that's a fair point. Can we build bikes that are hand pedaling, that still, be able to provide at least those disabled athletes ability to race in races? I mean, hand bikes, home trained, that could quite easily be built, I think. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things we did. So, Mick, John and I are involved with the National Road Championships as former race director and current race director. And one of the things
you're also the race director for the Jaco Herald Sun Tour. Don't forget that.
That's true. Yeah, which is cancelled for next year. But hey, we'll be back bigger and better the year after that.
That's right.
But the Cycling Australia, the para national championships were often kept separate, and then they brought them in together, but then they would put them in a different location. And over the last 2 years, they've had them race on exactly the same course, which as you know, how difficult the Buninyong course is. But the paras all said they wanted to ride it, and it was super, super hard for them. They didn't care. They just wanted to race on the same course as the able-bodied athletes. And
they wanted to feel a part of it, didn't they? They wanted to be a part of the action, not be put somewhere out down the road. Exactly.
Absolutely, and that was the respect that they deserved, and it was really heartwarming to see how much they enjoyed just being a part of the national championships with everybody else. And on that alone, absolutely, we have to be more inclusive. We have to in general, but just knowing and actually having seen what that means to them. It's so important that we continue to do that.
But don't you think also cycling, it almost struggles a lot with what I call elitism.
Yeah.
And it's an extremely elite sport with a high barrier to entry. And I can remember as a kid growing up in Canberra, I'd go out like everyone does in Australia at 5 o'clock in the morning. And in Canberra, that was tough during the winter. It was freezing cold. Your bin was frozen within 10 minutes. But I can remember people yelling at me, and I was 10 years old, that, I couldn't ride properly in the bunch. And I lacked those skills to be able to ride with that elite group. And that's a big jump, to starting cycling. And having that and being able to acquire those skills to be able to ride at a level where at the bunch where it's going, down the road at 50 kilometers an hour. That's tough. And cycling has always been a really, really elite sport. And if we're going to continue to grow our numbers, I think we have to look at ourselves in the face a little bit and say, let's bring this elitism down. So we can get out to those people and people can have this smooth path into getting into our lovely sport.
Well, that's what we've tried to do on the detour, mate. We've tried to eliminate all aspects of elitism, and we've really tried to just bring the level down and just people don't feel intimidated. Isn't that right, John?
Yeah, but Mick's stuffing it up a bit. He's trying to take it up too much of a level. We won't have him back.
Now, Mick, can we quickly touch on your career, because we've had a number of comments. Will Wizard says, Brad Wiggins said that Micheal Rogers should have won that Tour de France he crashed out of. Now, I know you're a humble guy, but let's be honest, you would have shit it in.
No, I would have finished third. Third? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the day you crashed, had you stayed in that lead group, you were in a break. If you'd stayed in that lead group, you would have taken the yellow jersey, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I can't remember what my lead was, but I would have had a healthy lead. I think it would have been 7 or 8 minutes lead in the yellow jersey, if memory serves me correctly. And I don't think I would have, those guys at Contador, who were climbing so superior. But I think I could have finished third, which would have been, would have been a nice cherry on the cake.
I remember it well, Dodge, because that was a tragic day for Australian cycling because Stewie went out with that terrible crash that same day and that many broken bones and whatever. And Robbie would finally succumb to his crash from in England and got eliminated on that same day. So we lost 3 of you on the one day. It was a terrible day.
You know, it was really funny, John. This year at the Tour, I was there with, this year I've been working with Team NTT. And I was at the Tour doing scouting in front of the race. So my daily role was in a car, sit basically 10, 20 kilometres in front of the race and feed back information, by the radio or the phone back to the sports directors in the car. And we actually went up that climb the day that I called Roseland, the day that I crashed on, and I remember the exact corner. And it was the first time I'd been back, so brought back a few nasty memories.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They go back there again.
Now that you just mentioned NTT, mate, before we move on. So interesting, I found only last week we had Bjarni saying looks like she's all over. And the last couple of days, Doug Ryder's saying he might have snaffled a sponsor. Have you heard any more?
I personally don't know a lot more. I mean, I've been reading the press and really hopeful that Doug is able to locate a sponsor. I love what Doug's done in that team. I mean, I didn't know a whole lot about his vision and his philosophy of putting people on bikes in Africa. With obviously what he's been doing with the Quebec Foundation, it's a really, really, really cool, I think, movement. And it would be so sad to see a team like that just disappear. Africa's only team. I hope deep in my heart that Doug's able to find a corporate sponsor that's able to step up and fill the shoes of what NT had done.
An entire continent that can't get the money together to have a team. It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, it's just a shame that the virtual racing wasn't set up years ago and they couldn't be drip fed some of the virtual cash. Anyway, maybe in
Bitcoins.
3 years time. Yeah,
I'd love to have a quick talk about that amazing Tour Down Under win of yours.
Okay,
Dodge.
I've got the video, John. I can play the video first, which basically shows what happened. You can't script this. I'm surprised I haven't done a 30 for 30 on this one stage. All right, let's have a look.
News on. The reason it's where it is for the benefit of the crowd. And what's happened here? Micheal Rogers has thrown his bike to the ground. He desperately needs one quick. He's got one. It's not a team bike, although it's the same make as his team, Colnago, and I have a feeling that's come from a spectator. It's unclear what happened there. People are saying he was in collision with a motorcycle. We didn't see that, but he's gone. And he was so lucky to get a bike. If that has come from a spectator with the right pedal cleats, the saddle clearly a little bit low for him, but he's got himself a good bike at the right time. Now the adrenaline, which he released half of it, slamming his other bike on the floor, it looks as though the rest is going to go into these pedals. He looks quite unconcerned now. I think he's got this under control. And Micheal Rogers is making sure he's got the race lead because he's getting a second place win bonus as well. So that will give him a clear lead overall, and it's all been done on a borrowed bicycle today. So what could have been a disaster has turned out totally triumphant for Rogers. He is now the leader of the Tour.
Well, the man with the bike on the hill, Adam Pike, glad you could come along, but what were you thinking there? We saw the pictures on the screen. Micheal crashing, you had the bike there, he jumped straight on. What were you thinking as your bike, which is almost $10,000 worth, disappeared up the hill?
Well, I knew that Micheal was nearly in the overall lead from yesterday, and I thought, well, if there's a chance to give him a hand to get him up there, why not?
We're just looking at the pictures there. Not very happy with the bike there, Micheal?
No, it failed me today, so I was lucky that Adam was there, and, I lost very minimal seconds, and, maybe because I'd, won the Tour without it, certainly, I wouldn't be standing here today.
And remarkably, the bike was almost very, very similar in statistics as yours, so it was a safe bet to ride.
Yeah, certainly, during the race a bit later on, I got the seat raised a little bit, so other than that, it was perfect.
Unbelievable, mate. What other
Time
insights?
pedal.
Yeah.
No, but it had time. Not many people rode time pedals. I reckon, seriously, outside of the peloton, there would have been maybe half a dozen bikes set up exactly the same all around Australia that would have been similar to Mike. But I reckon there would probably maybe only be one other one in Australia, right size, everything almost seat height, almost right, with time pedals. And it happened to be right at the spot where Stuart O'Grady's old man, Stuart O'Grady's old man Brian ran into Mick Rogers.
There's got to be a twist in this story. There's got to be, 20 years later, it was all a hoax and it was all set up for exposure or something,
The only thing I didn't like about the bike is it had a saddlebag on it. I mean, come on. I mean, so I actually called the car, the team car, and I said, we've got to get this saddlebag off. And so they took that off. And then, I mean, yeah, I think it was Davo. Yeah, I think Davo actually took it off. But the funny thing is, I think that was Mengler's Hill.
Yep.
And the power had gone down, or the chute had gone down, and the race had all split up. And I was in the front, and I think Paddy Yonker were there. I had a couple of teammates. Cadell was there. Nardello was there. I think, just to name a few. And we'd started Mangler's climb, and at that moment, we had maybe 20, 30 seconds, and I kind of looked behind, because second place, he was back in the group. I looked behind to see where they were, and at the same time, Stewie, O'Grady's father, who was a motorbike commissaire, he looked back at the same time. I looked over to my right shoulder. Stewie's old man looked on his left shoulder, and we just hit each other. And Stewie's obviously the motorbike, the front wheel just took out my rear derailleur, and so you could see my frustration, throwing my bike. I was prime location to be able to win the Tour Down Under as a 21, 22 in such a big race. It was I was just frustrated, and then a beam of light came out of the sky, and I'm not the most religious person. I'm not the most religious person, but someone was looking down on me that day.
There's one little bit to add to that, because Dave Sanders, who was your team manager, the race had split on Mengler's Hill, and he was stuck behind it, so he wasn't there, and he couldn't get there. They're saying that you're in trouble. Oh, no, because if that bloke hadn't get into the bike, that would have been game over, because by the time Davo got to you, you would never have gotten back to that front group. So that I'm a man of odds. I'd like to know what the odds are of that. I don't know how many million to one, but that's what it was. So many million to one.
So I can't remember his name. The guy who gave me the bike. Sorry,
Adam.
Yeah, Adam. I still keep in touch with him. We send a message for Christmas, and Scott, you were at Mapei that same period, weren't you? Yep. We used to live next to each other.
We did, mate. On the lake, around a ball.
Yeah, that's right. We ended up sending Adam a container full of Mapei clothing, helmets, equipment, all this stuff just to thank him, because it was just, like you say, John, the odds of it was just next to impossible.
It was amazing. Yeah. You may notice the jersey. Now, I actually I didn't put those up thinking of you. Actually, I just whacked them up, and I typically change all of them around. That one was mine from back in the day when we were teammates together. But this one was also our teammate as well in Oscar Ferrer. So that's old Oscar, who won the world championship several times, and once for Mapei, got it signed for me. One of my prides and joy. And the bike, you had one of those as well, because you were in the Olympic team 2000 on the track.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's my Olympic bike from 2000 as well that I may have acquired from the national program without their permission.
Oh, you stole it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's taxpayers' bikes, mate.
Absolutely. And Brett Aiken, he kept his as well, and then they asked Brett to return it, because Brett lives in Adelaide, and that's where the bikes are kept and the base is over there. They asked him to return his bike, and he said, "You'll have to bring the police to get it, And then after a while, they made the decision that if you won a medal at the Sydney Olympics, then you got to keep your bikes. Ah, cool. Thanks. Because they weren't getting ours back. No way.
Hey, we've got a comment from Samantha. She says, Michael taking a bow as a victory salute at the Tour de France Stage 16 was unforgettable. So fabulous. What would be the highlight of your career?
Oh,
Mick?
winning Tour de France stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think any young cyclist, growing up, particularly in Australia, dreams of winning, the Tour de France, or if not a stage. I guess I've been so close so many times and made a tactical error, or didn't win the sprint, or had a teammate to look after. So to be finally able to win a stage after 14 years of being a professional, I mean, that was just the pinnacle for me, and a childhood dream.
And what was so great about that, from John and my perspective, watching that stage back in the day, you had two riders from Europe Car in the break. They were 1-2ing you the whole way, and you just towed them up and ended up going on your own to win. They were so disappointed that they had the numbers and you just completely blew them off the road, which was fantastic. Tommy Voeckler was second.
Yeah, that day, I was prepared to crash and not win that, compared to not winning that stage, and they made their move. As you said, Scott, they were what we call 1-2ing me, playing cat and mouse. I wasn't really interested in that, and I ended up making my move on the descent. I just said, listen, this next corner, I'm not going to break. I either come out of it, with a 50-meter gap, or I'm going to be on the ground. So it was just, I was that desperate to win.
Well, that got aired. That stage, SBS, during July this year, they ran lots of repeats of memorable stages, and obviously Cadell's stuff. And that stage win from you was one that they, of course, repeated, during their run through July, which is fantastic. Which is the last time I saw it, which I remember it so vividly now, having only seen it only a couple of months ago. It was great.
They know it as the win it or bin it stage.
Win it or bin it, yeah, exactly.
Hey, Mick, one thing we always ask people on this show is, we're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people are struggling, particularly, Melbourne was starting to come out of it, but Europe about to go into a second lockdown. What were some of the things or the keys that you found to pull yourself out of a really tough period and to then get momentum back and to get to the top heights in cycling? What lessons can you pass on for everyday people listening or watching the show?
That's a good question, Dan. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and somewhere during our careers, we always kind of fall off the top of the mountain, and you fall down, and it seems like you just keep falling and falling, but eventually you do hit the bottom. You do hit the place where you can take a decision whether you're going to curl up in a ball and stay down, or you're going to get up and dust yourself off and start climbing the mountain again. And I think that's one of the great things about sports, and that's what teaches you about sport, is dealing with hard times. I mean, you're very rarely successful, you very rarely win, but when you do win, it just makes it that much more beautiful, and there's always tough times, but humans are extremely resilient, and we adapt, and we'll find new ways. So, I mean, it's been tough. In Europe, we're about to go into a second lockdown. My children had their last day at school yesterday. Could be until March next year, until we go into the spring. But there's always light in the tunnel. Absolutely.
Good stuff, mate.
Keep pedaling. Hey, what do you
keep pedaling? Keep pedaling.
Yeah, keep pedaling. Well, what I say, just in corporate talks, and the last thing I say is, you only fall off if you stop pedaling. So just keep pedaling.
Didn't Einstein say that life is like a bike? You have to keep pedaling to maintain balance.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just make sure, but you got to have the skill.
If he didn't say that, he should have.
Well, and the other famous quote was "bin it or win it." But from my side,
That's right.
What do you miss, mate? And I think about that time that we were living in separate apartments in Verano Borghi. So the Mappe team, for those of you at home, Mappe rented a series of apartments in a little tiny town called Verano Borghi, which is on a lake, Lago di Comabio in northern Italy, just near Varese. And those apartments were for the foreign riders to come and stay. So free of charge, we didn't have to pay any rent. And there was Alan Davis, Mick Rogers, myself. And then we had Charlie Wigilius, Laszlo Budrogi, Pavel Zerzan. Who else was there? And there was another apartment.
Oscar Freire did a big session. Yeah.
Only world champ. Forgot about him.
Yeah. And riders, riders would come and go and stay at the spare apartment, etc. And I remember just like that time, those couple of years, just a great lifestyle, just riding around the lakes and obviously going off to races and the barbecues we used to have and all those sorts of things. So, that's something that I certainly miss, is that kind of camaraderie from back there, which was quite a privilege to have had. But what is it that you miss most about the racing days?
I think it's exactly that, Scott, the camaraderie, that focus of energy that you have not only from the riders within the team, but also the staff members, the masseurs, mechanics, the bus driver, the truck driver. There's this common goal to achieve, which is called winning. And you just put everything into it and everyone puts it on the line every day. And I miss that. I miss just being able to glance at someone to tell them that today is the day. Whether you're in the final kilometres of race, all it needs is a quick glance and they understand exactly what they need to do. And I miss that energy and that cycling has, and I think all elite sport.
Do you miss because look, I don't, but do you miss the actual the competitiveness? Like, is there something that you do daily or weekly to try and still be competitive? Do you miss it or not?
No, not. I mean, I feel that I'm an extremely lucky professional athlete because I was able to get it all out. I didn't have any more in the tank when I decided that I was going to retire. I was lucky to be able to make that decision. I'm retiring now. Now, when I'm done, not when the sport was done with me. But the competitive side, no. I mean, I still love to go for a bike ride. I run, but it's just at a constant pace, and there's no racing going on.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the attributes you had as a rider that you're learning now that you can use in this new role that you're like, oh wow, actually I've had that this whole time?
I bring people together. I bring people together and get everyone focused on that common goal, and whatever that goal should be. I love working together as in teams. I think it's fascinating. When a team works, the sum of those people, the whole of that people is worth more than the sum of the individual characters. But I think that's where my skills lay, is bringing people together, working out where the strengths are, which people are the leaders, which people are the workers, and coming up with a strategy to win the race. I think that's where my goal set stands.
It's the captain on the road scenario.
Yeah.
Can I say
that's
right. One of the things that I observed, say, that Cadell, as great as an athlete and how driven and passionate he was as an individual, I guess it's probably the one thing that he didn't quite have was that leadership potential. He was always the strongest guy, but I just felt that he fell over a little bit when it came to trying to bring his team, his riders together to help him win. I think that's the opposite of what you're sort of saying.
Yeah, but I think Cadell was really smart also to able to find that person, which was George Hincapie for him. The way I see working team is the winner isn't necessarily the leader. And the leader normally doesn't have the physical capabilities to be able to win the race. So if you can combine two brains, it's always better than one. I mean, I did that role quite a lot with Alberto Contador in my last couple of years at Saxo Bank. That's why I went to Team Sky to join Brad Wiggins when he won the Tour de France in 2012. I didn't have the physical capabilities because I was just that couple of kilograms too heavy to be able to go 3 days a row in the Pyrenees. But where I was good was seeing the race, finding the team that had the same goal as us and going to them and saying, guys, we have the same goal. Let's do it together. So Cadell was brilliant at recognizing that he saw those qualities, maybe those leadership qualities, bringing the team together. And he went out and found George Hincapie, who had that skill. So, no one has the full package.
Is it a matter of just being original and just being true to yourself? Like, you don't have to be something that you're not, and just embracing what your strengths are, and then trying to work out and being honest where you go, I've got some weaknesses here. How do I fill that hole? And not having an ego where you do think I can do everything, because most people can't.
I think that's a really big part of it, Dan, is the quickest way to success is focusing on your talents, right? I mean, why, as a manager of a team, and in essence, a road captain role is you're actually managing the riders. I mean, obviously you have a sports director, but you're managing the things that are going on the road. All right. Why spend lots of energy into trying to make, the non-talents of your riders? Let's say if someone's not a climber, you're going to spend so much time trying to make them into a climber when they're actually just a fantastic sprinter. And a fantastic sprinter's never going to be a fantastic climber. So why spend all your time? You're better off focusing, the way I see it, your energy, spending the time with the people's talents.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a question from Alan Davis. Have a look at that mugshot.
Here he is.
Ask Mick what the difference is between the life livers you pull on rather than professional bike rider livers. What does he mean by that?
Is that Bundaberg-ish? Is that a language that you're using, Bundaberg?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I've really got to screen these questions beforehand. I think.
Just pull it up again. Let's see if we can decode it.
Yeah. Ask Mick what the difference is between the life livers you pull on rather than professional bike lives. Is it life livers you pull on rather than professional bike rider livers? I don't know.
I have no idea.
No,
that is an Alan. That is an Alan Lang riddle, not an Alan Davis riddle.
I got a text from Brett Lancaster. He's watching the show. He says gives us all the thumbs up. So there you go.
Another one of yours. We mentioned the Sydney Olympics because people will forget that Mick started on the track, and so you and Brett were in that Olympic team pursuit team back in the year 2000, 99 as well, 99 and 2000. Is that right?
2000. So that's going back a long time, Scott.
Yeah. We're on, mate.
Yeah. Well, you all lost all your hair. I've still got some.
Sorry.
Yeah, me too, mate. It's not just an age thing. I've still got my hair, mate.
No, I started off on the track, 96 to 2000. Did the Olympic Games in Sydney, and then made the transition to road.
So Alan Davis has said, he meant to say levers. Sorry about that. So let's change it again. Ask Mick what the difference is between the life levers you pull on rather than the professional bike rider levers. So what's the biggest difference in real life challenges?
Didn't much.
I thought he was saying the gear levers.
I think he's just trying to say what the biggest challenges that you're having post cycling is there comparisons to the challenges you had as a bike rider?
No, that's clear. So sports gives you so much, and prepares you for, I think, working when you take a step back to real life, because you know about work ethic, you know about working together, particularly in cycling, you know about working together as a team. And they're fantastic skills to have. When you take what you learnt into an organization, what you learnt in sport, and take that into an organization, it's infectious that almost when the people, the kind of the non-sportive people and that doesn't have the sporting background that you have, Scott, or that you've been involved with, Dan, in your football clubs and being part of Mitchelton and doing all the social media and filming, and there's such a good team spirit, and that's infectious for normal people, because what I love about cycling and what I love about sport is when you're there in the presentation in before the race, where the speaker introduces the athletes to the general public there watching the stage. When one rider walks onto that stage, there's a few people clap and cheer. But when that one rider is joined by his other teammates, then the people look up and they clap. And my point is I think people love to see successful teams, and love to see teamwork, and it's more than just one person. And that's a special feeling. And when you take that as an athlete and go into everyday life, people get infected by that team effort and want to be a part of something that's broader and bigger than themselves.
I think it's very
fascinates me. Yeah,
it's amazing, Mick. I reckon cycling is so unique in that aspect, because it's it's the only sport where it's very individual. So you go, like athletics, whatever, you go for the individual, but you've got that enormous team element around it. No other sport can really understand how it works. It's a special dynamic that's so different. There are guys who race their whole career, hardly ever win a bike race, and yet they get enormous satisfaction out of being a really good team rider. They get just as much as you when you win. So it is an amazing sport.
Dan, I have a question for you. I mean, what was your experience? Because when you went with Mitchelton, Scott, and then you went into football, correct? Well, I mean, what experiences did you find between, what comparisons were there between the two?
To be honest with you, when I first went into cycling, I knew nothing about the sport. I knew nothing about the mechanics of it. I just saw it as an opportunity to make a documentary. And I knew John was a character, and I knew the Tour de France there was so much more behind the scenes than what we saw on TV. And I thought, wow, this is just a huge opportunity. Once getting into the sport, then it just, for me, became about the characters. And much like footy, I mean, there's characters in any environment, but it's very similar in this whole working for your mates and that camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. One of the big differences, and George Bennett was talking about this the other day, he was flat as we said, shit Carter's hat, when he was at the Vuelta, and we said, look, we're trying to get him from a level 2 to a 3 pumped, and we showed him this pump-up video and that. I said the story when I was playing footy back in the day. I played this Any Given Sunday speech, and we were all in the rooms, and we're wanting to punch holes for the room. We ended up getting beaten by 96 points. And then George Bennett said the same thing with cycling. He said, you can't waste all this energy. You can't get yourself wound up and fired up in the bus, because then the gun goes off and it's the neutral, and you just putt along. And he said it's such a weird sport, but at the same time, and I think modern cycling is getting this more, and we had Dave Brailsford talking about it, they are really understanding the importance of chemistry and the importance of when you build a good chemistry in a group and you want to bury yourself for that other rider, like what Scotty was saying with Cadell, like having that George Hincapie to supplement that. When Cadell didn't have George, we would film Cadell and go, what the hell's going on here? He's not going on the team bus with his teammates. He's going in his own little minivan and driving off. You can't do that as a GC guy. You can't, because I saw it with Esteban Chavez, right? So Esteban would come on the bus, and his routine was he'd obviously be first on a hill climb, have his shower and whatever. as one by one, as riders comes in, he'd greet them. Hey, Grizzly, thanks for your work, man. Or, and then one day in the morning, he drew pictures for all of them, handed them out to everyone, and they stuck them on the wall. And they're like, this guy's genius because he's built this chemistry. They bury themselves for him. So when he got the jersey at the Giro and we thought he was going to win it, people are in tears, they're so emotionally connected because the chemistry is so strong. Whereas you could have a superstar like that, but if your teammates don't have that bond, there'll come a point where you need to pay the bank. You need to dig into that reserve that isn't there because that chemistry is not there. And it's a funny thing. And people underestimate how mental. I've never ridden a bike, don't have any intentions. I mean, the virtual stuff interests me, but as a spectator. But I'm so glued.
You're going to be a virtual spectator. There's a new one. Now, Dodger, there's something you hadn't even contemplated. There's probably money in that. Virtual spectators. There's your first one. There.
Oh, mate, I'm interested. I'll watch it. But I understand the chemistry. Yeah.
But I mean, Scott, you did years on the 6-day circuit. Did you ever find one particular rider that you just had that chemistry that Dan's talking about?
So the 6 days is a whole different world because it was about each individual rider. So you didn't typically, two-man team events, but you didn't typically always go to a race organizer as a team. You'd be put together. And every individual would negotiate their own contract, their own appearance fee to be at that particular event. So there's a really cutthroat culture that underlied the 6 days because, for young riders coming through, and if they become good and they start to perform well, and then they'll want more appearance money, that's got to come from somewhere. So it'll come from the contracts of some of the older riders. So there was this culture of just pushing people down, push them down. But the one that it's quite fascinating actually, and it's kind of the complete opposite of what we've been talking about within the road teams, how we all come together. But if you've got a good partner, my best partner in the 6 days was Matthew Gilmore, so an Aussie he was racing for Belgium. That's a whole other story, isn't it? But we knew each other, we understood each other, and there was this mutual respect that we could be the strongest team here. Let's go out there and beat them. So it was just a one-on-one, two-rider situation. But typically, I'd be thrown in with anybody sometimes, the local star, and I had to go and help him, make him try and look good, and we'd try and get a good result, and resented riding with him because he wasn't the guy I really wanted to ride with. And the whole time you're still trying to push down the young riders because you don't want them to come up and take all your money. So it's really cutthroat. The 6 days is a bit different. So I had to try and I had to de-learn that whenever I was within a proper team environment.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, John, you were laughing at me about being a virtual spectator. Well, I've got support. Wendy Superfan, she's in.
You'll be in the virtual grandstand.
Hey, we've got another comment from our mate Jamie. He says, on teamwork, from time to time, the teammate of a rider who wins also raises their arms as they cross the line, even if they come in way behind. Maybe team directors should make that much more common so that every member of the team puts their arms up, no matter in which position they come in, because at the end of the day, it's the team that has won. There were some teams that frowned on that, I think, like if the teammate won and there was a guy behind throwing the hands up. But surely that's not a bad look, Iffy.
Look, I think that's when you see another rider throwing their hands up, it's normally because they're in the moment. They've done the lead out. They see them win, and they're exaltation of the moment, not coming in 5 minutes behind and hearing and throwing. I don't think it needs to be done.
Hang on, someone wants to ask a question. It's Alan Davis.
Here he is.
What are you talking about, Alan?
I mean, is that some kind of Bundaberg tone? What is dialect you guys have?
It's called the auto type, mate. How you going, fellas?
Yeah, good.
Good, buddy. Got the band back together.
What I was trying to say, obviously we all know Mick and I have been mates and teammates, and also Scotty for a long time. But once I retired, I was always trying to figure out what this feeling was. Where you go into normal life, where as a professional bike rider, as a bike rider for 15 years or something, you know what you're going to do. You know what levers to pull on to make you go faster. You know, you diet better, you train better. They're all kind of levers we pull on, but you pull on those same levers in normal life and you don't get the same aspect. And Mick was the one who really put it into perspective for me. So that was a question that I was meaning to ask you.
Okay. Well, have we got time for a long response?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting conversation, that transition between an elite athlete and kind of back to normal civilian life, if I can put it that way. And I guess the way that I always thought about it is the beauty of cycling is, or being a professional athlete, is you dress up, you get out on the road in the morning, and within 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you more or less know the day you're going to have. You know, you go over that little 100-meter section of road where you know your time, and you already know how you're going to perform that day. And you have instant feedback on, am I going in the right direction? You know, and when I stopped and transitioned back into a kind of normal life, is that I didn't have that feedback to be able to measure that, you know, Dodge, are you going in the right direction? Are you doing the right things? You know, so I needed to almost come up with that new metric to be able to measure if I'm actually progressing as a person. And I found that really difficult, not having that everyday feedback and being able to make those decisions, to make those micro adjustments about, you know, maybe I should do this a little bit different, or maybe I could try something a little bit different there. Maybe I just need to lose a little bit more weight as a cyclist. Maybe I need to train a little bit harder. Maybe I need to make a little bit more rest. When I transitioned back into normal life, I lost those, as you said, Alan, those little levers, and I had to discover those new levers. What are those levers that I touch and pull on to make a difference in my everyday life outside of being an elite athlete?
It's a good answer, mate. We've got a comment from Shree V. He says, Michael is ever so eloquent about it, but it's hard to refocus your life after chasing a goal for years. I'm in med school. I go through a mini depression after every test block. Chapeau.
Good on him.
So, yeah.
I like your first question, Albie, because it's all about the livers, because my liver's taken a bit of a beating over the last few years. But I was going to get to that. But anyway, all good.
Well, talking about livers, someone commented, who cracked open a can when Mick come on? Yeah, that was me. Sorry about that. And hey, Albie, are you still at the Vuelta?
Albie and Mick, what's the name of...
Yes?
He's frozen. He's frozen.
No. What was the name of what? There you go.
We didn't get the question,
you talking?
mate.
Oh, sorry. No, there was just a bit of... I think my internet's starting to play out. But it seems like there's some... My internet's not working very well. No, I was going to talk about the family that used to live in the apartments near where we were in front of Borgie. What was the father's name?
Elisa.
When we were having barbecues.
Marco and Elisa.
To come out and have a drink with us.
Marco and Elisa.
Marco, that was it. Yeah. And he would say, Dan, you would have loved this guy. Marco, he'd be sort of just pacing up and down, and we'd be having a barbecue. And then we'd just look over, and eventually someone would say, hey, Marco, come and join us. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's in. And then I'll just go and grab a drink. He'd go inside and get his full trolley. He'd come out with a trolley of grappa and all these different spirits. He just wanted to get on it. He was just waiting for the invitation. It was a crack up.
Yeah, so maybe I should elaborate a little bit on that, Scott, is as Scott was alluding to earlier in our conversation, MAPE, the team, they kind of just rented this whole complex of apartments. What were there, 6 or 7 or 8 guys? I can't remember. And one of the apartments, they had like a kind of custodian or a caretaker to look after us immature young professional cyclists. I mean, I was 20, 21. Scott, how old are you?
I'm 50 now, mate. 10 years older than you, so I was 30 when I was there. So I didn't.
Yeah, and Alan, you were like 12. So we needed this kind of this family to help us with obviously, you know, 3 Aussies and an Englishman and what was it, a Hungarian and
a Hungarian and a Russian.
Yeah.
And a Russian and
sounds like the opening to the great Aussie joke.
And
we all walked into a bar.
Yeah.
And we taught everyone about the Aussie barbecue. You know, there was a nice pool in this complex of apartments, and I mean, we were just living like kings, really. And we had to, you know, jump off the our kind of patios, and it would be in a beautiful lake. I mean, it's a fantastic place to live. And so we taught all of these Europeans, East Europeans and Italians about the Australian barbecue culture. And as Scott was saying, you know, the Marco, who was the family there, kind of the Custodian family, he was the father, a lovely, lovely person. I, you know, run into him every now and again, and he had this collection of grappers and whiskies, and you know, I remember he pulled out this little flask once. He goes, "Mick, you got to try this one. This is 90% alcohol. It's really good." Yeah, so it was great. It was a great time.
Mate, it'll clean your driveway.
You would have loved it. You would have loved it, John.
Oh, I would have loved it. You're right. I got the two of you on here, Albie. I would like to throw something at you. You're just talking about the old days and the Europeans and living in Italy. Here we are, about to finish the third Grand Tour. It's going to be fought out between a Slovenian, an Ecuadorian, an Englishman, and an Irishman. And then the Tour de France fought out between 2 Slovenians, and the Giro between an Aussie and an Englishman. Not one continental European rider named there. Now, it seems quite a changing of the guard in some ways, eh?
Yeah, it is, John. I actually haven't thought of it like that, but you're exactly right, mate. And to be honest, I think, you know, as when we first came into the scene as young professionals, as Mick's touching on, and also you, Scotty, I mean, cycling in itself is, you know, it was more European based, wasn't it? All the teams, and now we see a lot of teams from all over the globe as well. You know, see the UAE teams and all that part of the world come into strength now with some really big budget teams, and obviously winning the Tour de France with Pogacar. But mate, the whole cycling scene's changed a lot, and I think it's just healthy for the sport, to be honest.
Yeah.
Albie, any progression to the president role for the Sprint Commission?
Yeah, I'm on to it, Jonesy. I just need to get the Vuelta out of the way, mate. I got today. I'm at the women's race. We've got the time trial, and then tomorrow in Madrid. So then I'm all hands on deck, mate.
Now listen, any truth to the rumor, Albie? Any truth to the rumor that was you that sent them the wrong way yesterday? No.
Be honest. We're hearing it was.
No, but there's a story behind that. A little bird told me that it was a policeman.
Yeah, that was the story. So I actually got the story from there was a couple of photographers there who actually went to that point to take photos of the girls' race, and they parked the car on the wrong route, so it was on the wrong side of the roundabout, but off the race. And all of a sudden, they're telling me that the policeman just started, you know, you got to move your car. The race is coming soon. You got to move the car. And they're saying, yeah, the race is coming, but it's going that way. The car's not on the race route. And he basically said, move your car or I'll arrest you. So they moved the car and he sent them down the road that the car was on, and went 10 minutes down the road. And luckily there was only one rider at 40 seconds. So they neutralised it, went back to the roundabout, give her 40 seconds, and they went on the way again.
I'm just thinking that policeman, when he realised that he'd taken them 10 minutes down the path the wrong way. What do you do? Do you just put your siren on and just?
Yeah, you know.
What do you do?
What
would you do, John?
It sounds like an event that was run 10 years ago in Melbourne when there was a few issues with people on the race route and coming up the wrong way. And
Eastlink.
Remember that one, John? Oh, that, yeah.
Eastlink Challenge. Yeah, I reckon it was that.
Ah, yes. No, that wasn't the right course. But a Sun Tour.
Oh, we've moved on quick from that one. We'll just
I don't want to talk about what happened there.
Doesn't matter. Sun Tour, they went the wrong way coming into finished at Healesville with the circuit. And it almost stuffed up the Sun Tour. It was one that I think Gero ended up winning it in a time trial up the hill. But the marshal set the whole bunch down the wrong way, but the brake went the right way, so they never caught the brake. Anyway.
So back to the Eastlink race. I thought there were going to be fatalities that day. So did you, John.
Shit happens.
Scary.
It wasn't a good day.
Yeah. All right. Well, geez, what an epic show, boys. That is a record for the detour. That's the longest we've ever run. And that's all thanks to you, Mick. You spoke very well, mate, and we're very excited about the world of virtual.
We've got the next 6 teams of the Vuelta to go through, or for the season to go through yet. We might save that till tomorrow. We'll save that till tomorrow.
I think save it, mate. Save it. And maybe tomorrow, because it's too long now. But I was with the 2 guys on there. Reminded me of 2 very funny Laszlo Budrogi stories. Who was one of the guys that lived in the apartments with us.
Save for tomorrow.
He was a bit OCD, Laszlo. Yeah.
And I'll tell the true story of Eastlink as well. So we'll go in there tomorrow.
Oh, really? You got to call some legal people first, get clearance, and then
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show, Mick. Really appreciate it. All the best with your new role at the UCI as the Innovation Manager. And good luck for the Vuelta, Alan. Make sure that the riders are going the right way, mate.
All right, mate. Thank you. Thanks, boys.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
mate.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, boys.
Cheers. Great chat. A couple of legends of the sport there. Do you want a final prediction for today's stage before we go?
Yes.
They're probably already halfway up that second Cat 3.
If it's not a breakaway, then I think Roglic is just a man, isn't he?
Yeah. I can't see him getting
I'll go for Roglic. Yep.
Yeah.
All
But they've got to throw it at him. They have to throw it at him. Get those first couple of Ks of that last climb out of the way, and then Carapaz and the guys. That's what I said the other day. I just hope they race to win rather than racing to defend their positions on the podium. But, it's almost an impossible task.
It is going to be a monster episode tomorrow. Make sure you all tune in for that because we're going to be reviewing how many? 13 teams. No, 12 teams.
Oh, no, we can do them. We can do them over there. Yeah, well, we'll get them all in. Just a shout out to Shez Mariner, who is one of our regular listeners, watchers, who always fires a question in. She's the one who bought the who's booked in at Mitchelton. Remember? But I just wanted to have a shout because she's the daughter of a bloke named Reg Mariner, who RIP. But an absolute legend from Geelong, who was a really good biker on his own day. But he was a legendary official handicapper of pro cycling and also down at Geelong, and one of the really, really best guys around the game, or just in life. Fantastic bloke. Used to have a bike shop and whatever. A real legend. So, Vale Reg Mariner. There you go.
Good on you. Good on you, Reg.
And after the ripping you guys gave me last night, just over my new bike, mentioning Mick Rogers and doing the bike swap, and John, you said how it was so unusual that Mick had time pedals on his race bike. Not many people had time pedals, and the spare bike that he ended up getting off Adam Pike had time pedals. Reminded me of the fact that I'm riding time pedals now. Which a mate of mine was the importer of them, and he gave me a set. That's why I ride them. It's in line with last night's conversation.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. Very good.
I'll ride
Very
anyone's
good.
pedals. Send me some pedals
We'll
and
see
I'll start riding them.
You'll
We'll see you
prostitute yourself for anybody.
tomorrow night. We could go 2.5 hours. We don't know. There's not much planning that goes into this, but it will be entertaining. Guaranteed. See you tomorrow night, 7:30.
This is the winning ride of the Tour de France.